Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have The Simpsons. This is kind of a big deal for me. It's ever since they found out that Fox was going to be purchased by Disney. One of the first things you thought is, well, what happens to all the shows? Are they all actually going to be part of Disney or on Disney Plus? Can some of these shows end up on there? I mean, some of them are produced by different companies and things like that, but something like Family Guy. Yeah, no, that's not going to really end up on Disney Plus. Maybe you'll get a home on Hulu or whatever. It's never going to get really added to Disney Plus, at least in the United States. But The Simpsons is kind of a borderline thing. This is a series that's gone on for 33 years, since 1989. Each of the episodes, of course, if you don't already know, run about 24 minutes long or so, without commercials. And it has gone through an astounding amount of changes. It's something along the lines, for me personally, like Star Wars or Star Trek, even Back to the Future, things like that I've grown up with, and the new Ghostbusters too. You know, the old Ghostbusters, but Simpsons pretty much almost as much as Star Wars, it is in my blood. And some of you probably are like, Simpsons, that's an awful show with bad influences or something. Like, some of you just sort of got in your head if you were around in 1989. And for everybody who's born well after that and goes, oh, that's my grandparents' favorite show, you know, or you've never really bothered watching it, it doesn't, especially old episodes, don't really connect. You have to understand that this is a series that existed before the internet. Well, before the widespread use of the internet. I can't say all the internet, but before the internet became a common thing in every household. This is a kind of show that not just took over Thursday nights, which it originally was going up against the Cosby Show back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then eventually took over Sunday, and then it caused so many other shows to be born out of it, copycats in a certain sense, Family Guy, but also it made primetime animation a thing again. I mean, we hadn't seen anything like that on television since the Flintstones and the Jetsons were on TV in the 60s. 60s, right? It's the 60s. Or maybe earlier. Either way, it was, you know, some of that stuff was in black and white to a certain degree. Or we just had black and white TVs. I can't remember. Either way, Simpsons revolutionized animated comedy, animated television in ways that nobody could have expected at a time that, coincidentally, the same time that Disney was having their own renaissance with, you know, The Little Mermaid and things like that. So animation was having its heyday at the late 80s, early 90s, and it was booming. Of course, nowadays we look at The Simpsons, a lot of people are like, oh, it was only good in the first 4 seasons, or the specific season 3 and 4, you know. And you know what? You're wrong. It's absolutely, yeah, okay, maybe some of the later seasons we don't have ingrained in our heads as much as, at least, okay, again, I'm talking about people who've watched Simpsons since the beginning. We don't have newer seasons ingrained in our heads like we do the old seasons. We don't romanticize the new stuff like the old stuff, because you know what happened way back when, before we could just stream whatever we wanted at any time, in any order, and had everything at our fingertips, before a DVD collection was a thing, not too long ago. And who knows, are they ever going to bring out later seasons of The Simpsons, or they just stop at a certain point? I haven't really checked in a while, because there's so many, and people don't really use DVD as much anymore, or Blu-ray. Are they going to continue with that? That's a question to ask another day. But the thing is, we had The Simpsons pumped into our veins almost 24 hours a day. When it was on reruns, it was syndicated. It was, once Simpsons became a thing and it reached a certain point, Fox, would run that 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 episodes in a row on some channels, between Judge Judy and the news or whatever else. You'd see The Simpsons in the afternoon. You see Simpsons late at night. You'd see Simpsons everywhere. Oh, it's even on non-Fox channels, I think. Like, they would just syndicate it like every other show when syndication was a thing. We don't have as many things syndicated anymore because, again, Disney Plus and every other streaming service exists, and we can watch all that stuff. There was a time that they made each of the episodes. No, I can't. I'm thinking of South Park, because South Park used to make each of their episodes available online immediately through their own site. Anyway, I'm all over the place on this. I know. I'm basically just talking to you about why The Simpsons still exists after 33 years. There's only 32 seasons currently on Disney Plus. They add the most recent season once the previous season. They add the previous season the moment the new season starts, right around there. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to watch, the current season, you have to watch it on TV or maybe it's on Hulu, but you want to see all the first 32 seasons, Disney Plus is the only place that you can really, really do that, really dig into it. And now that comes to, I'm going to talk about a few more things about The Simpsons here, what makes it great, why I love it. But I had to tell you, I was trying to come up with a thing. Do I do my top 10 favorite? I was even thinking at one point, watching one episode, my favorite episode from each of the 32 seasons. That would have taken over 12 hours. It's a Sunday, yes, but I have stuff to do. I'm not going to watch 32 episodes of The Simpsons as much as I love it. And it's really hard. I went through each of the seasons to try to pick out my top 5. I only made it through season 15 before I was like, I know I'm spending more time just picking episodes than I was watching it. More than I knew that I was going to be watching. It just took forever because, I like that one. Oh, I remember that one. That one's great too. Oh, what about this one? And then I would miss some. I would be very picky at first, and then I realized, oh wait, well, I don't have something from season 5. Let me go check that one. Go back. Maybe I was too picky with season 5, and so I went back and found, oh yeah, I got to do what was it? Deep Space Homer. Yeah, Deep Space Homer is in season 5. So I'm like, well, how could I skip over that? I guess I was being a little bit too picky. So I chose to just watch one, and it is my favorite episode. For a number of reasons, even though the ending is extremely problematic. And it's a fairly controversial episode, especially in today's, if you watch it today, and I'm going to tell you exactly the episode, season, and number, and the name in a moment here. If you watch it, yes, it pushes a lot of buttons for certain people, I imagine. And it's the ending. I forgot about the ending, and the ending was just a little unsettling for me. And that's great when a show like The Simpsons can make you a little bit uncomfortable, and a little bit like make you wonder, what were they thinking? What was the point they were trying to make? They were still season 5. The Simpsons was, well, this is season 9 actually, the episode that I've been talking about. They were still new. They were still dangerous to a certain degree. I mean, you look at Family Guy and they push the envelope of taste a whole lot further than The Simpsons. The Simpsons get a little out there, but they're considered safe now compared to anything else. It's not dangerous to watch The Simpsons. You can sit down as a family and watch it. And sure, it's not a Disney show, necessarily, but it covers topics that are very of the day. That's one of the great things about The Simpsons, though. Even back then, considering how long it takes to create an episode and how long it takes to animate it and send it off to Korea and back and everything else, they were incredibly topical. And they, at the same time, yes, some things are extremely dated when you look at some of the early episodes, but it has some staying power that is just insane. And like I say, yeah, I was looking at, I went through all 32 seasons, and I went through the later seasons. I'm like, I don't remember seeing that episode. I don't remember that episode. Why can't I remember it? Well, maybe they're not as good, but also I haven't had the opportunity to just flick on the TV and go, oh, I saw that one. Oh, you know what? Just like movies for me, when I see them the second time, I appreciate them a little bit more because I'm not, I kind of see more of the details. I can freeze frame. I don't have to worry about, oh, I'm disrupting the flow of things. I could freeze frame and see some of the jokes and the signs and things like that. You're going to want to do that, by the way, in just about every episode, not just Bart drawing on the chalkboard. Just about anywhere you can see a sign, the church sign, billboards, wherever you go, there's always jokes embedded throughout these episodes, and more so in the later seasons. So they really take advantage of that. And some of that stuff, yeah, I mean, even the couch gags, things like that, some of them are made up at the last minute. Some of those they can animate kind of at the last minute and add to the episode. So something that happened earlier that week can get added to some of these later episodes. These older ones, they didn't bother with that, but gosh, I'm looking at this list, and the list that I only got to set episode 15 on, season 15 on, before I gave up and just came over here. I started watching my favorite episode while I was just sort of taking notes and thinking about all this stuff. It's kind of crazy. One of the things that's enduring about this is that Homer isn't every man. He's had every job, just about. He gets put in these situations, and he's the dummy. He's the dumb dad. It has become a bit of a trope in just about every other show that's like him. Like Peter Griffin is very much the dumb dad who, again, also has every job and wears a white shirt and just does dumb dad things. I think The Simpsons has a little bit more heart to it than you would see in a Family Guy episode, but and it does revolve around family, the love of the nuclear family, which has a number of meanings when you look at The Simpsons. Nuclear family that exists at the heart of the entire series. What's great about this is that you don't even need any of that nuclear family to be The Simpsons, to be the center of any story. Because when you've gone 30 plus seasons, you can have an episode based on any number of the expansive cast. There's something like well over 500 characters, I think, in the town of Springfield. And almost any one of them could have an episode based on them, whether it's Wiggum or Apu or Mo. You can pretty much have the Simpsons as supporting characters, and they've experimented with different genres. Just last week, last 2 weeks, they had a two-parter in season 33 that was completely a spoof on all the kind of FX Coen Brothers, Fargo type of series, a prestige drama type of series. That kind of stuff is possible with The Simpsons because you have that foundation of the characters then you can just play with it and just go nuts. They killed a bunch of characters in that two-parter, which doesn't figure into anything. It was just kind of like a Treehouse of Horror, where it's just an episode that exists on its own, or a series of episodes within an episode, but stories. And that's great. And speaking of Treehouse of Horror, what other show has gone 32? They've now 32 Treehouse of Horrors because they didn't start that until the second season. It's just insane to have so many themed episodes. Some people this show has more themed episodes than some shows have episodes, period. It's kind of amazing. So I'm checking my notes here. Some of my favorites involve travel episodes. They went to Australia, they're down in South America, they're over in England, they're doing whatever it is, and they get to play with the culture. Sometimes it's gotten them in trouble. It's made some people in those countries not so happy when they take a poke at their culture and their traditions and things like that. But it's a comedy, it's a satire, and, well, yeah, sometimes, I mean, pretty much all the time they're poking fun at American culture, and we can handle that pretty well. So, so the travel episodes are just always usually always classic. Australia is one of the favorites, although I don't know if Australia really appreciated it. Flashback and flash forward episodes where you realize that these characters have been on the air for 33 years. By this point, Bart would be 42, Lisa would be 40, if this was all in real time. So to make up for that, they have episodes that deal with like a flash forward, see what they're like as teenagers or adults, and Lisa becomes president at some point, replacing a certain president who recently lost an election. We didn't get Lisa to replace him, but yeah, it's interesting that they predicted that that man would even become president. So I'm not going to say his name, but I don't want to make anybody too upset. They're topical. Like I said, they predicted so many things, including a certain president. This is the showcase for celebrity guest star appearances, voices, things like that. Some recurring, some one-shots. Some, back in the early days when this show first started, it was kind of, people would be asked to be on the show and they'd be like, no, that's beneath me. I don't want to be on that show. And so sometimes when a character's star is big enough and they want to spoof them, like say Arnold Schwarzenegger, they make Rainier Wolfcastle. They wanted an action star, and they could have had maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger, but instead they got Rainier Wolfcastle to be a very Schwarzenegger type character. They've done the same with, man, my brain is blanking now, but there's some people who are like, oh, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson also, they have another guy, oh my gosh, my brain is not working. It's just, I've been thinking Simpsons all day. I have not gotten the chance to do any thinking. My brain's overloading at this point. Let's see. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to, if it's almost a thing where if you're going to be somebody, if you're going to be considered a celebrity at some point, you got to do a Simpsons voice, a voice on the Simpsons. Yeah, I know that I've got a great voice. I'm sure you love listening to it. I would love to be on The Simpsons at some point. That would be a dream of mine, even if it's just some dumb line that probably made fun of me, which happens anytime I'm on television. So, yeah. Yes, there are some repetitive episodes or some things that get run into the ground over and over again, like Homer doing something beyond the pale, doing something that makes Marge kick him out of the house or leave him. But by the end of the episode, she has forgiven him, she takes him back, and everything is good. It pretty much has happened. It feels like every other season, if not every season, at some point, because Homer does some just awful things over the years. And yeah. There was one point they did get separated, and I think they started dating others. I can't remember. I remember it's in the later season, but yeah, it's a thing that's kind of been run into the ground, but it's still good for laughs. The great thing is they tackle everything from religion and politics and drugs and family and everything else in between that connects people and pushes them apart and creates conflict and humor. So that is one of the things that The Simpsons excel at. I do not doubt that some of the things that happen in later seasons, some of the later episodes where even I can't remember actually watching them, and I know I've watched every single Simpsons episode that's ever aired. I know that. It's not a question. There are over 730 episodes been released so far. That's pretty insane. And there's somewhat of a chance, unless we get an announcement anytime soon, that they could make it to 1,000 episodes. That's going to take a couple more years. Oh gosh, that'd be like 10 more years. Yeah, I don't know about that. But who knows? I mean, this show has outlasted a lot of the actors that have been on it. We've lost a few over the years, including the voice of Ed Bopple. And lost her, and the woman who did, pull it out here, the one who did the voice of Martin, who's also Minnie Mouse. Russi Taylor. Yeah, Russi Taylor. So, yeah, we lost her. But yeah, it's, yeah. Beyond the main cast, Dan Castellaneta, Yardley Smith, Julie Cadner, Nancy Cartwright, Hank Azaria, Harry Shearer, Pamela Hayden, Tress MacNeille, all of them are like animation voice heroes to me. They're just, even though some of them have been threatening to not come back, it was to get paid more. So, yeah, it's not always been a great experience for those working on the show. I think they are going to go down in history as possibly the members, the cast of possibly the greatest television show of all time. Yeah. Whether it goes out in a bang or a whimper, it's going to be considered one of the greatest shows of all time. Okay, now I'm going to tell you my favorite episode. And you might agree with me, like I said earlier, it does end in a little uncomfortable way, but I'm not going to tell you what that is. It's called The Cartridge Family. It's from season 9, episode 6. So if you go to Disney Plus, find The Simpsons, season 9, episode 6, you will find an episode where Homer, well, first of all, this town of Springfield discovers soccer. And, well, of course, at most European, or some European soccer games, fights break out, and it puts the entire city in danger. There, everything just goes out of control, as things often do in Springfield. And they realize, well, they just don't feel safe in their own home. What are they going to do? Well, Homer decides he's going to get a gun. And yes, that's why it's a little bit controversial. Some people, Second Amendment, all this stuff, all that is discussed. All of that is a bit of a struggle. And there's even an NRA meeting or two that take place during this episode. But what makes this great is that Homer is at alpha level Homer. He is super on the mark. If I don't know how else to explain it. There's almost no better depiction of Homer-id than there is in this episode. He goes so far as to, when he gets a gun, and you see some of the troubles of him having to wait to get a gun, and it's the dialogue between him and the sarcastic guy who runs the gun shop that is some of the best comedy I've seen in a long time. And this is, by the way, well after Conan O'Brien left the show, where everybody's like, oh, I love Conan. And that's the only time that The Simpsons was perfectly good, was when Conan was writing. Yes, those episodes are great, but Conan is well gone by this point. So you can't just say, oh, it's only as good up until season 4. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just parroting things that somebody else has told you. You have not watched all of the episodes. There are some amazing episodes throughout this series. So, gotcha. Anyway, the Cartridge Family has, yes, a moment where Marge is not happy with Homer and she decides to kick him out because of his insistence on using a gun for everything. Turning on the TV, opening a beer. Yeah, he gets a little bit too into it. So, but it's the nature of exaggeration and everything else that makes something like this very much The Simpsons. So that makes it so funny. I'm gonna throw a couple more episodes at you that I recommend real quick. Season 2, episode 4, 2 cars in every garage and 3 eyes on every fish. Burns is running for office. Itchy and Scratchy and Marge. Marge objects to the violence on the Itchy and Scratchy show. This is season 2. This is so early on. And she tries to get them canceled, or she succeeds in getting them canceled. Flaming Moe's, which has Aerosmith making a guest appearance and has Homer and Moe fighting over the creation of the Flaming Homer, which is season 3, episode 9. Of course, Marge versus the Monorail, season 4, episode 12. Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy is in that. A monorail gets installed. This is very much a fully Conan O'Brien written episode with music that was written, lyrics written by him. Jeez. So I'm going to skip here. Itchy and Scratchy Land, season 6, episode 4. They go to a Disneyland like park, and things get a little out of control. But they can't find a Bart souvenir license plate. They only have Bort. Doesn't make sense. Homer Palooza, season 7, episode 24. Also a great one. There's a ton of bands in that one, including Smashing Pumpkins and a few others. Very 90s. It's a very 90s episode. Let's see. You Only Move Twice. The introduction of Hank Scorpio, the evil mastermind, basically a Bond villain and a Bond-like title. And that is, where I lost it, season 8, episode 2. City of New York versus Homer Simpson in season 9, episode 1. Great way to kick off the season. And that's just full of very much New Yorkisms throughout. The Simpsons spin-off showcase. I'm going to jump back to season 8, episode 24. Also, tons of what if they spun off a bunch of shows from The Simpsons, and you get to see some of the characters from Springfield take over the show for a little bit, for little segments throughout, which is kind of great. Gosh. Oh, man. You know what? There's so many here. The Blunder Years, Bart to the Future, Grift to the Magi, Marge and Screaming Yellow Honkers. I could go on forever, and it's just endless. But you're talking to a guy who loves The Simpsons, who lives and breathes The Simpsons every day. I play the Simpsons Tapped Out game, so I'm like every 4 hours, which I think I'm due right now to update, but I'm using the phone right now. But yeah, if I haven't convinced you to watch The Simpsons now, well, maybe nobody can. I don't know. But if you have questions about it and anything else, I'm the Simpsons guy, like the Star Wars guy amongst my friends and family. That's who I am. But yeah, if you get a chance, seriously, watch it. At some point, I'm thinking that I'm going to wait until the series ends, that I'll start watching from the very beginning. I don't know. I have a feeling also that I didn't see it, but the episode of Michael Jackson does not exist on Disney+. That has been pulled, I think. Because Michael Jackson. Controversy. And yes, he did provide his voice in that episode. He did not sing. There was another person who did the singing. Yeah. Legal stuff. But yeah, I can't stress this enough. Simpsons is possibly the greatest show, if not the greatest comedy, if not the greatest animated series of all time. Fight me. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I can say. There's more I could probably say, but I won't. Let's pick tomorrow's episode, finally.
292.
Okay. Half an hour. Almost at a half an hour. 292. Okay. I'm not sure what this is. It's a movie, but I keep seeing it when I search for things, but we're going to watch Life with Mikey. Life with Mikey. Is that Michael J. Fox in that? I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that. I might be right. I don't know. But Life with Mikey is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.